Afternoon, Abiola. Would you please introduce
Good
yourself?
afternoon, Kaina. I hope you can see me. Good afternoon,
Yes,
everyone.
clearly.
Okay, I'm very pleased to meet all of you online. My name is Abiola Shamang. I'm the Senior Policy Officer for Knowledge Management at the African Union Development Agency. We are headquartered in South Africa, Johannesburg, but I am currently in Ghana, in Accra. So you might hear some noise in the background, and I don't really have a very stable connection. So for these reasons, I'm going to stop the video. So I introduced myself, but just to make sure that I don't drop off while I'm going to present. And again, I'm extremely pleased to be here today. I have followed the discussions, the presentations since this morning, and I really have to say these were excellent presenters, and also the participation has been very great. So I'm here today to share a very practical orientation on how to document best practices. Just a second, I'm trying to share my screen. If you can just give me a second, please. Please let me know if you are able to see my screen. Sukina, is my screen visible?
Not yet, but I think, yes, now it's clear. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So as my colleague Simon Kasira presented earlier this morning, the African Union has long recognized that Africa's youth has a very important role to play. They serve as key agents for social change, for economic growth, but most importantly, I feel it is about innovation. So participation in our decision-making processes is a key priority for the African Union, which is outlined in the African Union Youth Charter, and especially in Agenda 2063. So as Simon Kasira presented earlier this morning, the African Union has embarked on developing the second Continental Progress Report on Agenda 2063, which is guiding us to see where we are in terms of the continent and what should be done to achieve inclusive growth, development, wealth creation, and economic growth. So what you can see here in front of you is the summary of where the continent was 2 years ago, and we're using a traffic light system. Green meaning we are on track, yellow means moderate progress has been made, and red means we are off track in terms of achieving the goals and targets of Agenda 2063. So you can see that on the map, the goals are a bit more red, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So we are also saying that African youth not only have a very important role to play as being the beneficiaries of Agenda 2063, but they're also active contributors and architects for its implementation. So in this regard, we need to look at what are the socioeconomic challenges they are facing, and this could be in education, in employment, gender health, or poverty reduction. And it also, at the same time, there are the drivers in finding solutions and innovations towards these challenges. So what we have done now, when we look at the first Continental Progress Report, we developed these continental...
Dear Abiola?
Yes, hello?
Dear Abiola, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but your voice, it's not that clear.
It's not that very clear. I'm so sorry. As I mentioned, I am in Accra hotel right now.
Okay.
So I'm struggling a bit with my connection. I'm trying to speak a bit louder. So let me try to increase also my volume again, but I hope I'm going to be audible because right now I am at the hotel. Is this a bit better?
Yeah. Now
louder?
it's much...
Okay, I'll try my best. My sincere apologies for that.
Okay, thank you.
So what you can see right now, you can look at two country progress dashboards. One is for Cote d'Ivoire and one is for Guinea. So where we can see both countries both achieved an overall score of 43% in terms of achieving the continental goals in Agenda 2063. But when we looked at these progress reports, we also saw that not a single country is doing everything well, but that all countries are doing things very innovatively. So for instance, for Cote d'Ivoire, where I have circled this area, healthy and well-nourished citizens, Cote d'Ivoire only achieved a score of 2% in comparison to Guinea, 100% for this goal in ensuring food and security for the citizens. In contrast, when we look at engaged and empowered youth and children, Cote d'Ivoire achieved 100%, whereas Guinea only 21%. So this really looks at not only the report as a dashboard for seeing where we are, but also to learn from each other. And in this regard, we feel that youth have a very important role to play in order to scrutinize and review the progress, but most importantly, sharing innovations on how to tackle some of these challenges. And so our success now in developing our next Continental Progress Report, which will be launched at the African Union Summit next year by President Ouattara, will also focus on, the success will basically depend on how well this report is being utilized. Utilized in terms of strengthening accountability on Agenda 2063, strengthening peer learning and capacity support, but most importantly, to inform policy making, investment choices, and policy implementation. So our previous sessions have really looked at the policy cycle, and I really found these were excellent presentations on how the youth can have a very active role in terms of occupying, but most importantly, leading the policy development and implementation space. So what we are going to do for the next Continental Progress Report, we are also going to look at innovations and best practices. Innovations in terms of planning, domesticating, and implementing Agenda 2063. So in practical terms, what can be done in order to reduce unemployment? What can be done in order to ensure inclusive development? What can be done to strengthen our health systems? What can be done in terms of women's empowerment? So very practical best practices and innovative ways of achieving this. So the next progress report will feature these best practices, and we really hope that through platforms like this, we can also document and identify these best practices from the youth, so that we can use the African Union system for sharing, disseminating, replicating, and upscaling those innovations within local contexts. So what do I mean? I mean by that, for instance, if there is a youth NGO or a youth group in Nigeria working on a specific issue or problem, and they found a way of how to deal with that problem, that this can also be shared with Tanzania. And this is where the African Union has a very important place to play in terms of sharing innovations and replicating innovations and building capacity for doing so. So I don't want to take too much on the policy making space, because this has already been done by my the previous presenter. I just wanted to highlight that for the African Union, when it comes to policy making, a people-centered and system-led public policy approach is very important. And we spoke about the ecosystem earlier, and we spoke about that these policies have to be led by people, by the African youth. But what I just also wanted to highlight that when we make policies, decisions that are being taken by governments, by institutions, they have repercussion effects. You need to look at them within a system. So I like to use the example of COVID-19. So when COVID-19 occurred last year, first it was perceived as just a health issue. But when COVID-19 actually led to lockdowns, led to policy restrictions by government, it had ripple effect on other systems. Ripple effects in terms of unemployment, accelerating school dropouts. So there are many ripple effects that a policy can have on the ecosystem. And this is just something that I wanted to highlight because the African Union uses a holistic approach by taking into consideration the different sectors that are being affected by policy making. So how does it now work when it comes to innovation? And if we look again at the public policy cycle that was presented earlier, so you have a very important role to play from the agenda setting, the analysis of existing policies in terms of finding the evidence, the research, the prototyping, developing a policy, consulting with stakeholders and adopting the policy. But in terms of innovations, we really need to look at the research and prototyping. This means we need to look at evidence. What is available that works, that doesn't work so well, and what has been tested. And this is why documenting best practices and policies is so important, because we need to have the evidence in order to influence policymakers, in order to make decisions in the way we know that this could lead to a positive outcome, to a positive change. I don't want to really go into the policy space, I mean, how this works in practice, because I think we have seen many, many really good examples of how innovations and policy influencing can work very well in practice. So I'm not going to highlight that too much because we have heard many success stories, and I look forward to hearing the innovations that will be presented by the NGOs. So I just want to now highlight, what do I mean by best practices and innovations? So when we look at the term best practice, it might be a bit misleading. You can also call it a good practice, you can call it a methodology, and you can call it an innovation or a solution that has worked. But what is important, as I said, it needs to look at what has worked in the past and what could be replicated by others in a similar context, or could be adapted, assimilated by other stakeholders. So when we identify what is working well, a solution that is working well, we have specific principles to follow. A good practice must be effective. It must be efficient in terms of resources that we put in. It must be ethical. So we have very clear guidelines on ethics in the African Union, what can be done and what should not be done. And it must be relevant. It must be something that speaks to a current situation that is really current and relevant. It must be tested. So somehow we need to know that there's a methodology behind it that is working and that can prove this best practice is working. And very importantly, it can be replicated. But I don't mean just replication. You can do the same best practice in, let's say, Guinea, and you can do the same practice in Mauritius. I'm not saying that because it is very important. So when we replicate an innovation, it must work within a specific local context. Because even if we often refer, or maybe let's say people outside Africa refer to the continent as one country. We are not one country. We are a continent of 55 member states. We are a very diverse continent. So what works well in Algeria does not necessarily have to work well in South Africa. So replication means really it's about adapting, assimilating this good practice within a local context. So as I mentioned, we have now embarked on documenting best practices, and this is a process being led by the African Union member states. So all member states will be identifying solutions that are working very well within their specific context, and this will be documented and presented at the next African Union Heads of State Summit by the African Union Commission and the African Union Development Agency. And our objective is, as I mentioned before, that we can identify solutions that work well. We can build capacity within member states to share these solutions and possibly upscale within local context so that we facilitate peer learning and support towards achieving the Africa we want, which is our tagline for Agenda 2063. In this regard, we have developed a very straightforward and easy template on how to do so. And I'm sure when we listen to on how to work on policy recommendations, best practices, and innovations, what we propose follows the same structure. So when you want to pitch a solution to a government official or to a policy maker, it needs to be catchy. That's very important. You need to be able to sell your idea. And that's why we always say, when you capture or document a best practice, you need to be able to summarize it within a few words so that the issue is very clear, but you are able to grab the attention of a policy maker. You need to be able to identify the issue. What is the problem? What is the development challenge? And which population, which demographic or sector is being affected that should be addressed through this policy design and the implementation of the policy. And when it comes to sharing what is working very well, using your good practice, using your approach, you need to have a methodology. It needs to be very clear. How did you achieve this goal? How did you design your project? How is it being implemented? Who is implementing it? And who is benefiting from it? You need to be able to also very clearly be able to describe what results have been achieved so far. Results could be something in the short term. As I mentioned, if we're looking at COVID-19, many of these innovations that have come out because of the pandemic are short-term meaning maybe within 1 or 2 years. It could also be something that has been implemented over a period of time and could be medium-term, maybe from 3 to 5 years, but specific results have been achieved in this period. And very importantly, when we document best practices, we need to look at the lessons learned. What have you learned from your best practices? What are the key success factors that make it successful? And what was it that made it to have a very positive outcome? What worked well and what did not? And then also you need to look at the innovation in itself. Is it something new that you have put to the table? Is it something that has led to a breakthrough? So these are also the key features that should be highlighted in an innovation and a best practice. And now I'm coming to the area about the recommendations, because our aim as the African Union is to share such best practices or innovations at the continental level. So it is something that we want to share across countries, across regions, so that we as a continent can learn from each other. So what are the recommendations that you could give to your fellow member state, to your fellow citizen, and implementing it, replicating it, and assimilating it within a certain context? And lastly, it is also about sharing who is the custodian of it, how can we get in touch? So this was a very brief outline on how the African Union documents such good practices. But what is important that you are able to pitch your innovation to policymakers, and very importantly, if you grab the attention, how do you engage? How do you collaborate on a different platform for these best practices to be upset? And this is where the African Union comes in, and where we as the African Union Development Agency would be very happy to hear how you as youth are implementing and designing your innovations. So thank you so much for your time. I hope I didn't take too long. I apologize again about the sound and the internet connection, but yeah, looking forward to hearing your feedback and your ideas. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you, dear Abiola. Thank you so much for your insightful and valuable information. Indeed, we must focus our efforts in specific work areas and work on specific issues, and then to put all the best practices in an accountability and coherence approach, so to be sure that all the partners will be included in the making process of the best practices. Thank you so much, dear Abiola. I will get back to our participants. If they have any further questions or remarks, thoughts, raise your hands, please, and I will unmute your microphones. Yes, please. We have Mohammed Arfa first with the raised hand.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed Arfa from Tunisia. So I want to ask about what are your values? What are the values of Atlas? Yeah.
Okay, mainly it was like a section regarding the our IUD NEPAD intervention on the best practices documentation. Maybe if you have any question in this regard, and then I will maybe respond to your, but quickly, our vision is to gather the African youth partners on the common development in Africa, and then you can visit our websites atlasfordevelopment.org for more information. Let's get back to the Abiola intervention, and if you have any thoughts or maybe questions, please raise your hand, or maybe text your questions on the chat section. Let me see if we have here any question above. Okay. Anyone? Yes, Umayma Alam. And then you.
Thank you. My name is Umayma Alam from Morocco. I want to thank our speakers for this beautiful presentation. I have a question. Abiola, I hope I said your name correctly. You mentioned that this agenda is on a continent level with different countries. How can we make different countries with different interests come together and agree on such an agenda? Thank you very much.
Maybe let's take all the questions and then get back to dear Abiola for the responses. Yuba, you raised your hand. Thank you.
Actually, my question is based on what we see in the world. Actually, the international bodies like Global Fund and other UN bodies are taking a new approach to leadership, and they are now looking for local leadership and a whole perspective that is that we are creating right now. So my question is where we are at as an African Union. Actually, I'm Yuba Dari from Morocco.
Thank you, dear Yuba. We have a question in the chat section. Someone is asking about the Pan-Africanism and your vision about it as IUD NEPAD, indeed. So maybe we have just till now 3 questions. Let's have responses from dear Abiola and then get back to you.
Thank you so much, dear Sukaina. I hope I was able to understand all the questions, because there's also a bit of a audio challenge on my side. I think the first question was from Omaya, and I hope I pronounced your name very well. So in terms of the continental progress report, all member states form part of it. And it is very interesting because it's member states driven. So we're using data which is coming from the member states. It is not the World Banks or the OECDs or any other development institution that is telling us as a continent where we are, but it is the member states who are saying this is where we are, because data is a very sensitive issue. So with this continental progress report, the objective is to change the narrative on Africa, for Africa to own its own narrative. This is who we are, this is where we are currently, and this is what we want to achieve. Because Agenda 2063 even though it is very much in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, it is really about the continent saying, where do we want to be in the next 50 years? And this is why we also need to be able to report on our own progress with our own data. And it is a process which is led by the member states. And most importantly, it is led by the citizens, by the African citizens. So I hope I was able to answer your question, Omaya. In terms of Yuva, I'm not sure if I understood your question correctly. I think you spoke about African leadership. So as I said in the process with Agenda 2063, it is a bottom to top process. So there were many consultations being held with many stakeholder groups on how the African people envisage where they want to be in the next 50 years. That they want to have inclusive development. The development should be driven by African people, where we should have a high standard of living, where we want to make sure there is regional integration, where we can travel between borders, because it is much easier for a European citizen to come to the continent than for Africans going to Europe. But even for us traveling within the continent is a challenge as well. So we want to make sure that there are no borders. So these were some of the goals that the African citizens pronounced and which are reflected in Agenda 2063. And this is why the leadership has to also come from the bottom, from the African people to the top. In terms of Pan-Africanism, I think it leads to the same question. It is really about thinking Africans in Africa first, thinking about our values and goals as Africans to achieve the vision. I mean, we all know that in Kwame Nkrumah, he was the first African leader that led the country into independence. And this is where the African Renaissance and Pan-Africanism came from. But also if we look at the now, it is about defining our future and thinking Africa and our goals first. And this is why there is an African Union institution, which has to somehow coordinate, but also assess where we are in terms of the continents where such decisions can be made. So I think I would call myself a Pan-Africanist, and I'm sure everyone in this room will do the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Abiola, for your response. It was really insightful. Maybe let's take another question from another participant. So if you have any questions, please. Okay, there is a question in the chat section also. Okay. So from Morocco, someone is asking, in the first page of presentation, the comparison between Côte d'Ivoire and, okay, it's not clear to me. Okay, maybe let's take Albert. He put his question in the chat section. Would you please raise, unmute yourself and then ask directly our dear Abiola. Okay. Okay. I lose the questions.
Sorry, Sukaina, I can see a few questions in the chat. Would you like me to respond directly? I'm not sure if you asked
please,
me.
because
My apologies, I didn't hear that part, so sorry about that. So let me start from the bottom and then I scroll up to the top. So I see Mrs. Gloria asked, how do we present these best practices through meetings and reporting? So as I mentioned, this was really an orientation on how these best practices in innovations can be documented. And I was really highlighting it is about a pitch. It is about being able to share it in a very concise format. But what I didn't touch on was how do we and where do we share these best practices? So as the African Union Development Agency, or within the African Union, we have our high-level platforms, which are the African Union summits. So at the African Union Heads of State Summits, all the African heads of state come together to make decisions on policy design and policy implementation. And based on these recommendations, policies are being designed. So it is a very high level, but also ideal platform for sharing such innovations, for sharing the African youth. So as African Union Development Agency, we are committed to providing platforms where we bring together the different member states to learn from these innovations. These could be on the sidelines of such high-level events, or we can also look at creating specific platforms for policy dialogue. So we are committed to providing that space where the African youth can share the innovations which can contribute towards achieving Agenda 2063. Then the other question, as I'm going from bottom to top, is from Umaima. What are the reasons why there's a big gap between the two countries that are presented? So this was, I think, Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire. It's a very important and interesting question because we also looking at the why. Why is there such a big gap? So we want to know from Guinea, how did you achieve this positive result, and also the same from Guinea. How did you reach to this goal, and vice versa? And at the same time, it allows us to match countries with each other, to learn from each other, and to share the solution. So I don't really have an answer to you because we're looking for this answer. We're looking at the why. Why is it that some countries are performing well? What are they doing in terms of the policy space, in terms of policy design, investment programs, and also resources that they can allocate? So there are many factors, and this is why we have come up with this process of sharing best practices so that we can better understand the why. Then I see there is another question. I think it was almost the same. So I'm just trying to see. Okay, I think the question from Mr. Albert was also the same. Why are some best practices not applicable to other countries? I'm going to break it down very simple, and please excuse me for making it very simple. For instance, some countries are island countries. So a policy that is really about maritime fishing, strengthening the aquaculture sector might not be applicable to a country which is a landlocked country. So these are some of the reasons why you can't share specific best practices. But I think it should not hinder us to document what is working well in specific countries and then share it, because member states and countries, they have to pick what could work in their specific environment, in their specific context. It can be a political context, it can be a demographic context, it can be a cultural context. So it is really about sharing what works and then identify, and other countries identifying and picking this could work for us as well, because we are not the same. We are 55 member states, but we have similar challenges, but they're not the same. So these are the questions that I saw, and if there are any others, I'm happy to respond.
Grace was asking about the role of the media on achieving the results.
Thank you so much. I love this question because I also have a communication background, because as I said, developing Agenda 2063 is also about being in charge of our own development and being in charge of our own narrative. So as we know, the narrative has been very negative, specifically in the 90s, and then it changed from the negative narrative to Africa Rising. But this is also because the media is very dominant, specifically the Western media, on how to portray some issues. And these issues don't necessarily have to reflect what is happening on the ground, what is the reality. And this is why the African media has such an important role to play in terms of shaping and championing this African narrative. And for these reasons, the African Union Development Agency has established a media network where we work together with journalists from across the continent in terms of capacity building, sharing with media what is working on the ground, and also to really say, this is our narrative, these are our stories, and it is not the CNNs or the BBCs of the world who would say how Africa is, but it's coming from us as Africans. So the media have a very important role to play because they share public information, they can frame issues, and they can also set the agenda. And this is specifically when it comes to the youth agenda. Working closely with the media can also grab attention of policymakers to be aware of certain issues and to also implement policy designs and choices that the youth would like to see come into place. Thank you. And the question how you can share the media network, I'm going to put my email address in the chat. So you can contact me directly, and then I will let everyone who's interested and who has a journalistic background would like to join the media network, I'll be happy to assist. So I'm going to put my email address and you can contact me directly.
Thank you so much, dear Abiola. We still, if you still have a little bit much time, let's take the latest question about the role of awareness and public advocacy on to attend in the agenda. Dear Abiola, I think we lose.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was on mute. So you asked the role of public advocacy, public information and advocacy.
Yes.
Yes, that's very important, and it is something that also we as the African Union Development Agency we sometimes struggle with that because we are in charge of coordinating and implementing development programs on the continent. And how do you do this? You need to seek buy-in support from those who are in charge of implementing and accelerating these development programs. And one way is to really do advocacy. It is about engaging the member states. It is about engaging policy makers to share what is working, what you have seen as a proven solution, and to provide that offer to share it with this member state. And interestingly, I'm in Accra at a workshop at this moment, and we are looking at our program, which is focusing on fighting malaria on the continent. And there's one specific program that it's about integrated vector management. That means you are genetically modifying the mosquito that is transmitting malaria. And it is a solution that has proven to work well in some countries, but there are also issues in terms of could there be any danger to the public? But it has been proven. So we need to do advocacy to make sure that this program, in terms of fighting malaria, can also be implemented in another country. And how do you do this? You need to do advocacy. You need to convince policymakers of how to do it. And that's why I really feel the role of advocacy, the role of the media, and the role of the youth is so important, because it is with you that you can make ideas to come to light and to influence policy design and policy choices and the implementation of these choices because of your voice that you're raising and you seek buy-in support. So I hope I was able to answer that, but it's an issue that I think we are all facing also as the African Union. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear Abiola, for your insightful intervention. thank you for the participation, for the participants, for your involvement and reactivity with the Abiwa presentation. So let's move to the next session with the NGOs and testimonies about their actions on the ground. We will be having NGOs that are working on three main topics that are agriculture, health, education, and entrepreneurship. So let's start first with the Michael Sombola from Lagos Food Bank. Would you please, Michael, would you please introduce yourself? Michael, your mic is unmuted. Welcome there, Michael.
Oh, so sorry, I apologize for that, please.
Yes, please. Do you have any connection issue or something else?
Can you hear me?
Michael? Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it's just I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay, sure. Let me.
I gave you. I gave you.
You can share your screen now, dear Michael.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not now.
Sorry, I'm confirming if you can see my screen.
No, but yeah, we cannot see it. Yeah.
Hold on.
Yes, we can see it now.
You can see my screen now. Okay. Trying to. Okay, sorry. Good day, everyone. I don't know if I can go ahead now to make my presentation. I'm so excited to be part of this program. Sorry, please just give me a heads up if I can proceed, please.
Is there, Michael? Please go ahead, but just kindly keep in mind that you have at least like 10 to 15 minutes, so we can have more discussion with the participants about your initiative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Very well. Okay, so once again, I'm very happy to be part of this, and just quickly want to run through what we do at Lagos Food Bank to help improve lives and our food system. So we started out as the first indigenous food bank in Nigeria, and our vision is we are a non-profit nutrition-focused organization. We are committed to solving the problem of hunger and malnutrition in Lagos and its environs. And our vision is to be the leading hunger relief organization in Nigeria. And our focus is to provide access to nutritious and sufficient food for all. We identified a very major gap in our community, which is a hunger gap, and also realized that there isn't enough social safety net program for most vulnerable members of the society, and also to create market for our farmers. And then we were able to set up the food bank to address some of these immediate and long-term needs of our beneficiaries. So our target audience, of course, we focus on children, pregnant women, youths, patients of diet-related diseases, and seniors from age 50 and above. So what we do essentially covers our overall impacts that we've made since we started out in 2015. We've impacted more than 1.6 million beneficiaries in more than 135 communities through 6 major programs that addresses both the long-term needs and the short-term needs of our beneficiaries. So we do a whole lot with the youths in terms of volunteering, and we have more than 12,000 volunteers who help us across board to distribute intervention across all the 20 local governments and 136 communities we serve. Okay, so our programs, I'll quickly run through this. We run a school feeding programs across several communities, and we believe this is an essential way to reduce food insecurity amongst children in low-cost private school. And we do this, we serve those kids 3 times every week. And this is a nutrition intervention program. This helps improve the nutrition of pregnant women and children. We see that there's a huge burden of malnutrition in Nigeria. And one of the ways our program has actually come to address this issue is through this program. So far, we've made significant progress on this program, and then I've also been able to move a lot of children from the burden of malnutrition to a well-nourished state. So this is another program. This is a diet-related program that helps improve the diabetic condition of those living with diabetes as beneficiaries. And we realize a lot of them don't have enough resources to buy the food that they would need to manage their diabetic condition. And that's where the food bank comes in to assist them, provide them with the food, and with the help of our dietitians, we are able to help them control that condition. So we are also about sustainability, and what we do is to help our beneficiaries secure some job that can make them more self-reliant, so that they don't depend solely on the food bank to access food. And this we do with the help of our our volunteers who are HR practitioners to do all of this. So one of the programs we run also is a job placement program. This temporary assistant food program. This program help meet the immediate needs of our beneficiaries, right? And while we prepare for the long-term needs, immediate needs need to be met, and also to cure hunger and nourish our communities. So this is what those community programs look like to help solve the problem of hunger and malnutrition in our communities, especially those who don't know where their next meal will come from. And to bring us to the core of this presentation, the role of youth in the entire impact that we are making in our community. So, like I said earlier, we have more than 12,000 volunteers on our database, and we are able to take our intervention across board with the help of our volunteers, who are the driving force, who are the strength that we have in doing all of this, because most of these impacts across all the states that we run them, we are not able to achieve much without the help of our volunteers. And of course, this has been made possible by across 135 communities that we serve. Volunteers advocate, collect, sort, distribute food donation across all the state governments that we serve. And yes, so what our volunteers also help in doing is to help curb food waste. So we have volunteer network across all the communities we serve. And what they do is to help us collect food from farmers, from restaurants, from retail processing companies. We aggregate them, and they also assist in helping us to distribute this food to those in need. Rather than the food going to waste, of course, we're able to channel that to people facing hunger, and then we're able to save our climate and then feed those in need. So, of course, last year we were able to report the number of kilograms of food that we were able to salvage, more than 14,000 kg of food salvaged from landfills and to reach those in need. So we also mentioned that we visit restaurant buffets, you know, our mobile pantry, through our mobile pantry system, of course, we are able to collect food that could have gone to waste from restaurants, you know, and then redistribute to those mostly in need. And this, of course, has been made possible with the help of our volunteers.
Dear Michael, I think you have a connection issue, maybe. I think we lost Mr. Michael for a few seconds. He's surely getting back. So yeah, indeed, all the participants judged that the initiative is gratefully humanitarian. Yes, we did lost Michael. Lagos Food Bank is doing a great job. Okay. Okay. We lost our dear Michael. So maybe indeed, dear Safia, we must encourage such beautiful. Yes, it's based mainly in Nigeria, and they are doing really great job. So yeah, indeed, what we are trying to do here during this third edition is to co-create and create a youth hub of best practices and initiatives that are seeking for the development and inclusive development in Africa. Yes, maybe you can take the lead in Morocco and create such an amazing initiative. Yeah. Of course, dear Bashir, this is a great opportunity for us to know more about amazing initiatives and get inspired, and then to co-create all together or duplicate these initiatives. This is so socially innovative to do such initiative, and yeah, indeed, Hanan, this is the vision, the long-term vision. We are trying to have this fruitful and strong network of best practices and best initiatives in Africa. So this is your, yeah, Michael is back. Michael, you still hear us? Dear Michael, before taking the lead, all the participants are judging that your initiative is really inspiring and is really impactful. So get back to you, dear Michael. Would you please continue your intervention? You still have 5 minutes.
I'm trying to share my screen. Yes, I should be done in less than 5 minutes. I'm trying to share my screen, and
you did.
But I'm not able to do that.
Yes.
Would you allow me to do that? Thank you.
Please, would you check?
Okay, so I'm still having difficulty on my screen.
I gave you the permission to do to
Says hosts disabled.
I give you the permission. Actually, I don't know what's happened.
Okay.
I gave you I gave you this.
Do I sign? It's still saying host disabled. Maybe I should.
I don't know what's happened actually. Let me
I'm not.
see.
Once I click on share screen, it's not allowing me.
Would you please share your screen?
Yes. Okay. Now I can. Okay, so I don't know where the last parts of what you saw, but I don't know. I need to run fast.
Would you please repeat? I'm sorry.
Okay, so I talked about the agriculture, what we are doing to curb food waste.
Yes.
Okay, so and then what we are doing in agriculture, urban farming, so across Lagos, and that's what we've been doing. We've been training women on how to grow their own food at their backyard to curb the problem of food insecurity. And this slide talks about what we were able to use. We use tires, we use baskets, rooftops, and sacks to have plastic kegs and some aspect of hydroponics as well to assist women grow their own backyard. And we set them up and then later after their first sales. So currently we have 200 beneficiaries on this program, located the venture on their own, and have gone to establish on a large scale farming. So
we still cannot see your screen.
Sorry?
We still cannot see your screen.
You can't see the screen?
Oh. Not really.
So.
Yeah, now it works. Now it works. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was just talking about this, what we were able to do with our family farming program, and then trend said, and we have more than 12,000 of them assisting us reach as many beneficiaries as possible. So this also looks what our programs look like, and how we go into communities to assist those in need, help the most vulnerable in society, and then improve our food system in some way by agriculture, innovation, and also we are looking at the possibility of replicating food banks, in other African countries. And because, of course, the food banking model has worked significantly well in other developed countries, and it's a very significant aspect, plays a significant role in the development of our food system. And that's the campaign we are running now. And of course, we saw the lockdown, how it made the mess of our food system, and food banks were able to step in to assist those who were affected by the lockdown, especially in Lagos. So, and I said this with the huge impact youths are making in agriculture and service through the Lagos Bank, the inclusion of more youth growth and innovative development in Africa today. I hope I'm able to do all that in the time within which I've been given. I appreciate your time for listening to me, and would appreciate questions if there are.
Absolutely not. Thank you so much, dear Michael, for the inspiring speech. It was brief, but so impactful. Thank you for having such great initiative. And then let's have really a quick questions and responses session. So maybe 2 questions and then yes, Umayma, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much from Morocco. Michael, I have a question which is actually a bit out of the ordinary. As a non-governmental organization, is there or did you get any help from governmental bodies? And what are your advices for the young generation, such as the students or like part-time jobs worker, to start such an initiative with a small budget? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. You've asked 2 questions. The first is, are we getting any support from the government? Yes, the support we are currently getting from the government is with our partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture, and the support we're sending in just some facilitators to help train our beneficiaries on how to start the farming at their backyard. We do training and then they send in facilitators, and when they have surplus food, they also call us to come get and redistribute to our beneficiaries. But for organizations planning to start a banking model and initiative to help serve vulnerable people in their community, yes, I would say that it's very possible with a small budget. You can just first identify the key areas. See, we didn't start having all the programs, all the 6 programs. We just started with the feeding program, and then we started evolving from feeding program. We started a nutrition program, and when the community see that what you are doing is solving problem, people by their own charitable inclinations continue to donate, and the social media plays a very important role in all of this, and the civil society are the ones supporting us. And once you're able to put in your program on social media, people are able to connect and
please make sure, I'm sorry, Michael, but one of the participants is unmuting himself, so please make sure to have a muted mic since you have the permission to talk. Thank you. I'm sorry, Michael, for interrupting you, but you can continue. I'm sorry.
Yes, I've just pretty much said that with the budget, yes, it's with a short little budget is possible, but you have to play very, you have to make sure that you are communicating the impact you are making, so that people outside your communities, donors and corporate bodies could see what you are doing and then support it. And people from their own charitable inclinations could also support, because it touches on humanity. So, but it's the step to take that first step to start, have your website, have everything that you need to have it registered with the government, and then you kick off. But resilience is key, consistency is key, and competence as well. People should see that, yes, you are very serious about it and you are willing to, because it's the consistency that individuals want to see. And then before they are able to key in, and then some will observe you for 1 good year before they support. Some will observe for 2 years before they come on board. So the consistency to carry on and not give up is very key.
Thank you so much. I think our participants are very interested to your initiative. I have a lot of raised hand, and unfortunately we don't have too much time, so maybe I will take 3 of you. One couldn't raise her hand. Faki, please, would you please start first, and then let's move to dear Michael, we will take all the questions and then you can respond. So to have it quickly, Rizlan first, and then Mohammed Ouati, and then Sarah Harti. And I'm sorry, Umayma Harish, really sorry, but we don't have too much time. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rizlan from Morocco. Thank you for introducing this initiative. I just have a question. If I just want to know if you are willing to spread this initiative all over Africa, or maybe all over the world, if you have any plans. Thank you.
Okay, such an interesting question. So we still currently trying to cover the whole of Nigeria, but I can you know, introduce an organization that is also enabling us. The Food Banking Network enables food bank globally. The job is to identify food banks and then help them scale. So you can do a search on Global Food Banking Network. The Global Food Banking Network, you know, observed our activities for, I think, about 3 years, and then decided to come to Nigeria from New York, spent about 1 week with us in Nigeria, studied all our programs, and thereafter went back and decided on how to support us. Until date, they've been supporting us. They are one of our highest donors, and they support food banks globally. So if you start up something, of course it's, but in terms of our plan, we are still currently looking at how to spread this across the entire country. We have not fully covered ground, and the problems we are facing in Nigeria is so enormous that spreading to other parts of Africa seems a bit, you know, far as a vision right now. But you can connect with the Global Food Banking Network. They can assist to invest in.
The second question is with Mohammed Ouati. I'm sorry for.
Hello. Well, my name is Mohammed. I'm from Morocco. And thank you, Michael, for your beautiful presentation. Unfortunately, several regions of Africa have experienced severe lack of rainfall recently, and as a consequence for global warming, leading to food shortage, as you said. And I really like your initiative, and more like what you are doing with the self-independent agriculture. So the question is, do you think this procedure will be enough for the whole country, for the whole Nigeria? Thank you.
Let's move to the Sarah's questions, and then you may respond to Michael.
Hello, so I am Sarah. I'm from Morocco. Thank you, Michael, for this presentation. It was very inspirational. It was very inspiring. So actually, my question is, how many people could get a market through this initiative? And are restaurants the only source of food income?
How many people? I have to repeat that. Hello, Sarah. Can you hear me? I didn't.
We lost you. We lost you for a second. You may repeat your proposal.
Okay, so I was just asking. I didn't get the last part of Sarah's question.
Would you please repeat, Sarah?
Okay, so actually you said that you work with restaurants to get that food. So like, are restaurants the only source to help these people? Or is there another source?
Okay, thank you. So I'll take Mohammed's question first, and then come to yours. So Mohammed, the thing is that, of course, you are very correct. There's a huge food shortage as a result of, you know, droughts and, you know, all climate change factors, especially in Nigeria. And food prices also is a huge challenge now. They keep going up. So what the food bank does is not supposed to be the overall solution to the problem of, it's just one of the several solutions that we have now introduced to Nigeria. Of course, the food banking model can't be sufficient to meet all the food needs of the entire country, especially the hungry population. So there are thousands of NGOs also doing similar food distribution model. So what we just do is to partner with as many food banks as possible, partner with as many NGOs as possible to help us distribute to meet both short-term and long-term needs of our beneficiaries. Agriculture still remains one of the most sustainable ways to curb the problem of hunger and malnutrition. And that's why we've also introduced hunger. So we are just working towards self-sufficiency, food security in what we are doing. And one thing, of course, can't get to do something, but won't solve the whole problem. It's a teamwork, it's a collective work. And so if you do something, I do something, everybody does something, we're able to meet the needs of our neighbors, and then nobody goes to bed hungry. So it's just as the SDG 2. So I hope that kind of answers your question to an extent. So Sarah, yes, now to serve our beneficiaries, we collect food from farms, excess food from farms. We do market purchase as well. We partner with food processing companies like the Unilevers, the Ala Food, Promasidor, those big food, we partner with them to collect food as well from them. Then the restaurants are just one of the ways in which we get food to serve our beneficiaries. And of course, a lot of food after buffet goes to waste, which we know that we can pick up and serve those in need. So it's just one out of the ways in which we source food for our beneficiaries. So of course, it's very important we curb food waste, very important. And then young people play a very key role in doing all of this. And why we have just talked about the food waste and then agriculture is we're just trying to look at, aside from distribution, what are the innovative areas that we have introduced into our food banking system to help curb the problem of hunger. And so that's why we kind of focused on food waste and urban farming in this presentation. But there are a whole lot. Thank you.
Such an inspiring discussion with you. Thank you so much, dear Michael. Maybe let's have the latest question, because it's important too to know about the major issues or challenges you are facing till now. Yes, there is a successful stories, but also there are a lot of challenges. So let's have the latest response and close with you. Thank you.
Okay, I was having issue with my network, but to just be sure I heard you correctly, you're talking of the challenge you are facing.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so the current challenge we are facing in this program first, funding is number one. Funding is very important to help us scale. And then we currently have challenge with policies to help increase the visibility of food banks and what they are doing to help solve the problem of hunger. Now, food goes to waste because there are no policies and laws that make it mandatory for food processing companies not to waste food, but have them donated. This was done in France. Supermarkets by law are not meant to trash food or throw away food. The law recommends that the food be donated to the nearest food bank. There are laws that also protect or that give incentive to donors. They get tax returns when they donate to charities or food banks. So all these are the challenge we are facing here. So we are only faced with those who do it out of their will, their charitable inclinations, and what we're able to source. So that's a challenge. Food price, of course, keeps going up, and that reduces our purchasing power, because when we don't donations from food processing companies, we are forced to buy food, and we buy from farmers at a lower price. But because the price has gone up, the price is now almost at par with market price, not at the wholesale retail price anymore. So all of this, of course, is putting a whole lot of pressure on us, and then the demand for food and the demand keeps increasing, right? And is a major challenge for us at this time. If you put on Google the challenge we are facing currently in Nigeria, in terms of food insecurity and food prices going up, of course, you would understand the extent of the problem. Now in a whole lot of young people to step up and then do something in their community to help curb the problem of hunger, both short-term and long-term. Anyone is helping to solve the problem.
Thank you so much, dear Michael. It was a pleasure having you among us this afternoon. Maybe let's move the. We talked about agriculture. We talked about great initiatives in this regard. So let's have a second testimony or success story with the Yusra Mishmish from the Peace First NGO, an organization that is our main partner last year, and they did a great job with us. So thank you once again, dear Yusra, for your efforts, and then let's have your presentations.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
So hi everyone.
Okay,
I'm
I have
happy
a
that I'm
big
with today. This is Yusra Mishmish logging in from Jordan. This is a big number that I was not expecting, and I'm feeling very grateful that I get the chance to be with you, learn from you, and try to share any kind of knowledge we have. So I will be quickly sharing my screen. Just a second. All right. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, that's great. So I will be trying quickly to tell you more about the organization I work with, which is Peace First, and we are AgLab partners with the Atlas for Development. We believe in the potential of young people, and we believe that all that they need is some support, and we are here to support. So I would like to kick off this session with a question that I want everyone to answer in the chat if possible, which is, when you hear the word youth, what is the first thing that comes to your brain? The first thing that you think about when you hear the word youth? Creativity, okay. Teamwork, future, like 6 people wrote future. Potential, energy, power. Young people are awesome, aren't they? Hope, interesting. Okay, potential, hope, energy, strength. That's nice. Everything. Yes, it is everything. Passion, life, humanity. What else? Experience. So youth or experience, positive future. Sustainability. Okay, interesting. Hope. So the present force, the creativity, we all agree apparently on the fact that young people need energy. Leadership, youth are leadership. Hope. Okay, commitment, power, ambitious, all of that. Like, we do believe that youth are the energy, the leadership, the power, and the future, but we also know that youth are going through a lot, and they are trying to change so many things, but they are not being able to do that. And like 30 years ago, our founder, Eric Dawson, was in the US, and he was able to identify that young people are the future, the energy, the leadership, and everything. But still, young people are being affected by so many injustices and are trying to affect lots of things and create change in their community, but they cannot do that for so many reasons. And he saw that young people all around the world who are aware of the injustices in their community, who would really like to create a change, that are unable to do so, have 3 main barriers that will not let them do that. The first one was the lack of awareness of the know-how. They don't know how to create plans. They don't know how to actually turn ideas into action. They don't have the trainings and the methodologies. The second thing was the network. They don't have the proper network, whether the people, the organization, and the funds. And the third thing, which was very basic, even if you want to change the world, if you don't have the transportation free from a city to another, you won't be able to do that. So they don't have the funds. And from here came the idea of Peace First. Peace First is a nonprofit organization that works all around the world by providing young people everywhere and anywhere accessibility to the things I mentioned. It's a digital platform where you can log in to get the mentorship and the trainings, to get the network and the youth mentors, and to get the funding of $250 to kick off your journey of peacemaking. And we actually believe in many values. Our three main values that we work with, which we call the 3 C's, are the collaboration with people, the compassion towards injustices, and the ability to collaborate with others and to make sure that we can utilize all of the assets and the courage in doing that. So coming out of that value of collaboration, we are here today with our partners, and we wanted to help and support in the concept of this academy by providing a lens from our work with youth in Africa, specifically giving some challenges, recommendations, and numbers to inspire all of the young people and answer questions as much as possible. Okay, so let's speak about Africa. So we work in all around the regions. We work in the US and Canada and MENA, everywhere. But I have extracted some numbers of the work we have been doing in Africa. And let me tell you, the top 1 region where we get projects from and we send many grants to is Africa. And this is not surprising, it's a big region, but also the young people are very courageous and they really want to create a change. This also can happen because there are so many injustices and so many lags in the region where people need to step in, and goes to the fact that the community is very young and so many people are trying. So congratulations on being the top 1 region on everything, on the projects, on the mini grants. Whenever we have an end of year analytics, Africa is like the top comparing to any other region, comparing to the US, even that we are US based, but we work all around the world. Africa is the country where we get the most and the best projects from. So since we started, we have outreached 4,130 projects that applied through our platform and actually had an idea for a social projects they want to implement. And we target the young people, speaking about the ages from 13 to 25, believing that we need to start from school age, because you cannot come into someone who's 18 and suddenly ask them to be the great citizen they are. You need to work on them from an earlier age. This is something that we believe we are unique of. We give money, trust, and appreciation to people who are not 18 yet, which is needed. So we have 4,130 projects from Africa, and we have distributed over the past 3 years 670 mini grants by youth to the hand of the youth that are creating social initiatives that shall support youth. We are very proud of those young people we have. Okay, so speaking about the main challenges that the young people go through, we basically support any kind of project that tackles social injustices under the SDGs. So the main things that we got applications from for the last years were, top 1 was education in Africa specifically. And this is for the MENA region as well, as I oversee Middle East and North Africa. Education is something that if we get 10 projects, 4 of them would be about education. And for somewhere like Africa, this is not surprising because, like the level of the education, especially for marginalized communities, needs a lot of support. So we receive hundreds of projects about people throwing campaigns in marginalized communities, people going to schools and speaking about the importance of education, people who are buying school kits and distributing them in camps, people who are just trying to raise awareness about the importance of females completing their education, people delivering education itself, like graduates who try to teach English to others, try to teach IT skills to others. So this is why we believe that this is a top 1 tackling injustice, and we believe that it happens for a reason. The second most tackled injustice in Africa we receive is good health and well-being. Lots and lots of projects come supporting ideas from, like the awareness around COVID-19 and the importance of wearing a mask, up to like the effects of cholera and to cancer and things that can lead to having lots and lots of diseases where people get from the lack of awareness of very, very basic health instructions. So good health and well-being is an injustice that people tackle a lot in Africa, especially for the last year with COVID. We received tons of projects that are COVID targeted. The third most tackled thing we have is gender equality. And gender equality on the streets, on the markets, in education, in marriage, in laws, in the schools, everywhere. You know, like this also is very close to MENA region. I believe that Middle East has a very similar infrastructure of Africa in so many things, in so many instances. We share so much things together. And gender equality is also one of the most tackled issues that we have in Middle East. So yes, and we are very happy and proud that so many people, men and females, and like all of the genders are trying to do this to have a more equal community. Okay, youth activism. Youth activism is also one of the very, very important things that people are trying to work on, and particularly in Africa, youth are really trying to work on having more participation, like in the elections, on the markets, in the business, having more workshops that are raising awareness for young people in places, understanding their potential, knowing that they can be a part of change making and actually framing the resources and the policies of their own countries. And the last thing is good jobs and economic growth. We have received a very big amount of projects that work on how to provide good jobs. And if you want to simplify this SDG, we would be receiving projects like people trying to teach others like tactics and ways where they can get money from. People trying to conduct sessions for females on how to outreach opportunities online. People trying to give you CV writing sessions. The opportunities and the ideas are limitless and very, very diverse. And it can start from how to write your CV, to how to apply to a scholarship, to how to actually cook at your house and sell that food and get money. So this is a tactic that we really enjoy reading about, and people come with very innovative solutions while tackling. Yes, okay. So those are like the main five. You would be seeing lots and lots of other issues regarding the environment, regarding the animals' rights, regarding, issues when it comes to innovation and infrastructure and land and life. But those are like the top five. And I think it's interesting. Like, we have education, we have health, which are like the very, very important things that anyone can go through. We have gender equality, and like 5 years ago, this would not have been a top project, but I believe with the media exposure and with the amount of awareness people going through, gender equality now became a very important thing. We have youth activism, and this is very, very active in MENA and in Sub-Saharan Africa, especially between all of the other regions, because I believe that we have a very young community. Like, for example, in Jordan, the age median is 24. So these countries share the fact that young people are a lot and they need to be active and they need to engage. So youth activism is here to stay. And good job and economic growth, like in COVID, so many people lost their jobs. So many people lost any way of getting money for their families. So this was essential. And people now need to create projects where they empower other people on how to get money, how to be established and financially independent, whatever the simple way it was. Okay, so now through our work, whenever someone completes a project, we always try to ask them about when they complete their project, and after we send them the mini grants, we ask them this question of what challenges did you face while implementing this project? Because we care about understanding how the communities work, what does every region differentiate from another region, and maybe how can we support? And to be able to understand and answer the question, how can we support? We need to ask the question, what is wrong and what is needed? So those are answers from young people. We did not affect this. It's from young people to young people. So the first challenge that the youth told us about was the lack of support of the community they are working with, not believing in the change that can happen by the youth. And this is not a surprise. I believe that social change is one of the hardest things you can do, especially when you're tackling a social norm or something that has been happening for tens of years. If you're tackling like the marriage of kids, if you're tackling something that has like social or religious or economy related thing. So the community itself is not supportive, maybe because they are afraid of the change that happens, maybe because they are not used to having new things, maybe because they don't know the importance of social change. They got used to things that have been happening for tens and tens of years. So for them, the idea of creating change does not make sense as invalid. This is like one of the challenges that we really heard a lot about, like, even in some communities where you have the money and have the team and have the plan, if your parents and your community and your neighbors are consistently putting you down, telling you that you cannot do this, telling you that this is not acceptable, this would be a major, major obstacle. So this is something we witness all around the regions, but in the conservative communities, specifically in the MENA region, to be specific, and in Africa, this is a huge challenge. And I'm sure that so many people agree. So if you agree with any of those challenges that I talk about, would love to hear your opinion about it in the chat box. The second challenge that the youth told us about was the low awareness on the issues at hand. So you cannot speak about something is wrong when you don't know what is. You cannot speak about what you don't see. So, like, if you are not aware about the COVID effect on your health, if you are not aware about, you know, the issues that marrying at a young age might lead to, if you are not aware about, you know, the effect of dropping out of school, you will not be very serious about trying to solve this issue. So there is a low amount of awareness about issues. So many projects start at level 0 because the awareness was never there. They need to start educating people on the very basic perspectives that would actually create a huge change. But if the basic knowledge was there, it would be very easy for them to create a more concrete and a more specific impact on those people, communities, and lives. So there is a huge lack of awareness on the issues that people are trying to tackle, especially environmental, youth activism basis, and like specific advanced issues that people try to work on. The third most common, most obvious issue is the funding gaps, the lack of sustainability of financial resources. This is an issue we heard a lot about, but like from the work that I've seen, I would basically see that this is never the top issue. Like even if you have like 10K in your hands, if you don't know how to plan them in the proper way, if you don't have the right team and network, trust me, you will not be able to create any change. So this is not the main issue, this is one of the issues. If you don't have funding, even if you have amazing ideas, sometimes you just need your transportation fees, you need your printing costs, you need to just put things on the ground. And the lack of fundings and the lack of organizations that are willing to fund young people is very, very huge. There are so many organizations that are willing to fund you, but they don't fund people themselves. You need to be a registered organization. You need to be an NGO with a clear record. You need to be a governmental-based thing. And this is the issue because, you know, we want young people to solve the issues because they are going through these challenges and they are the best ones to speak about those challenges, to tackle these challenges, to enhance and improve and complete these issues. So when you don't trust young people by giving them money, who will do this change? And even when money is provided in so many cases, it's not sustainable. You know, like so many organizations work on the touch and run basis. So we come in, we give you this amount of money, and then we jump. We need to work more on having more sustainable funding resources, telling people and like educating youth on how can they utilize and comprehend an amount of money in the most sustainable way. So money will always be an issue. Okay. Another issue that is specifically focused on Africa, which is the weak digital infrastructure. Unfortunately, the poor internet access. Young people in remote community particularly are most especially having difficulties in making impact in the community. Because like maybe this is something at Peace First we witnessed so hard. So we work virtually. Our entire work is done through a digital platform, is done through a mentorship video call. And for the African countries, we sometimes need to reschedule a mentorship call 10 times, and then the young person cannot attend. In cases, we have witnessed young people that are needing to travel 3-4 hours away to be able to get internet access. And when they do, the internet will be very bad and they won't be able to open their cameras. And when we talk about the era of COVID, you know, like COVID, if you don't have digital attendance and attendance, you don't exist. So it was a huge barrier, and we tried to find any other alternatives like quitting the phone calls than trying to do this over voice notes and texting, trying to do this over emails, but also emails is not accessible for everyone. And if you want to create like true inclusion for people, we cannot This include the ones who don't have digital infrastructure. It's not their fault, but this is a huge issue, and people and organizations need to provide young people with safe digital spaces where they can come in, because all of the opportunities are online. So this is an issue that we really felt over the past country. And the last thing that I have graded as 2, but it's 5, is the absence of network and partnerships, personal, organizational, and governmental. So you would be finding, like in Africa, when we work with young people, we would be finding like 100 people working in the same justice, but they don't know each other's, and 100 NGOs that work on towards the same goal, but they don't partner with each other's, and the government trying to achieve KPIs, but they don't actually use the community itself that they work with. So the issue is, instead of trying to compete with each other's, there should be a model where people complete each other's. You know, young people need to have more networking skills and networking partners, whether with the NGOs, with the partner governmental organizations, with the people themselves. Because I tell you, whenever we interview a young person and we ask them about who is your team, the ones who tell us, I don't have a team, I am the team, are less probably to complete their project. And the ones who come in and tell us, I have a team of 4 people, one in charge of social media, one of the logistics, one of the implementation, those people I will be looking forward to get updates from, and I get updates from very soon. So we need to have more networks for young people and more networking abilities. Okay, so after all of these challenges we have worked with, we also try to drive in some recommendations that are very brief from the presentation that I will share. Quick recommendation that will try to help all of those young people that go through common issues. So for the recommendations, our first recommendation is create connection portals. So for example, we were talking about the people not being able to speak with the government, and this is an issue. Like in some context, if you want to create a project about empowering females in schools, you need the Ministry of Education to approve this. So you need to talk to the government, and the government is here, young people are here. There is no clear connection portal for them. There is no clear emailing strategy for them. You might get the email of the minister or the head of some NGO that supports you, or someone who is really active in the community, but there are so many hierarchies in getting through that we need to kill in order to have a more inclusive, young-oriented system. So we need people to create connection portals. The second thing is inclusion engagement. And when I say inclusion, okay, thank you for the music. So let's differ between inclusion and engagement. So inclusion is like when you create a party and you invite young people to. Voila, that's great. Okay, you invited me to the party. But engagement is when you create a party and you invite young people and you make sure that the location of the party is accessible to those young people. You make sure that they are a part of the design process, that they have time on the stage to go up and speak, that the music put is something that they like, and that if this party fails or succeeds, they will be celebrating the success and they will be taking blame for the failure. So this is engagement, and I believe that over the past years we were able to create inclusive systems, but we stop at inclusion. We don't create engaging, comprehensive systems where people can really create an impact and have some change. So in order to get results, we need to create engaging systems, because young people cannot tell how strong they are until they are put into frames and contexts where they can experience their strengths or their weaknesses, where they can identify, because the first step of changing something, of overcoming a challenge, is to admit that you have this weakness and you need to work around it. The second thing is sustainable funding. Okay, even if you put money into the hand of young people, teach them how to spend this in a sustainable way. Teach them that we don't do charity. You need, if you get money, when you need to support community and help community, you need to have a way where you can spend money and get money at the same time, at least to cover your operational costs. So more projects about how to have sustainable funding resources and how to spend money are needed, whether on the organizational aspect of what they need to do, or on the youth aspect of what do we need to do as young people. So speak to young people, as so many organizations and people and young people who lead youth change that's focused on kids or on youth in general. like work on assumptions, like they work on projects where they think is best and they think are better for the community. But instead of assuming, let's start asking. Instead of coming with solutions, let's raise questions around problems. And instead of speaking about young people, let young people talk. And this is for everyone. This is for us as organizations, for you as young people who are trying to change your community, for the governments who are trying to make youth a bigger amount of the scene. Speak to young people, not about young people. Another thing is to legalize the social work. This is an issue that I personally witness a lot, and in Africa we have a lot. There are no clear legal frames for social impact. If you want to create a social change impact, we don't have laws that can protect us. We don't have laws that can ease in the process. We as youth activists are trying to create the work that the government tries to do, but are not able to do, that the private sector try to do, that don't have the capacity and passion to do. We are the ones who are going to the grounds and trying to change the community that are not good enough for us. But usually, unfortunately, the laws would be degrading and the laws would be holding us back from actually being able to do that. So we need more legalized context of social work that can really help us in doing that. Another thing is digital empowerment, and we spoke about this. Now in 2021, digital infrastructure is a must, and it's not a luxury, it's a need. So young people need in their own social campaign to always have a digitalized component. So if you work on the ground in a camp that does not have electricity or does not have internet, you need to make sure that if you reach 100 people in this campaign, have a copy of it on a Facebook page. It does not have to be a website. Have a copy of it on your Instagram, where you take pictures, where you spread awareness, where you speak to people about this issue, where you share some advices. So digitalize the work as much as possible and make sure that you have social existence. And for organizations, please support people with digital infrastructure. Last and lastly is storytelling for social change. So one of the best things that we try to support young people in doing is to tell their stories, because this is leading by example, because you cannot be what you cannot see. And from so many people that I have met, where I ask them about why did you start doing this, it always starts with young person being led by a story, a role model from their own community particularly. So be this role model by sharing your story, no matter how small it was. You need to do this so that people can actually see you as a role model, and people can start with this change, or the global community can see what's wrong and what's missing and how they can help. So many people don't know the injustices that happen in your community, and it's your responsibility as youth is to share those stories of change making to the entire world around. Okay, and I would be thanking you for this very brief. I had so many other things to share, but we need to be brief about it. I try to share the main challenges African amazing youth we work with go through, the main recommendations that we as an organization, youth as participants and partners for impact, and community in general would like to see happening in order to ease in the process of social change. So something that I would tell as a personal recommendation before taking your questions is, like, so many people, like every good book that you have ever read that changed your mind, every smart application that you have downloaded on your phone that made your life easier, every favorite restaurant that you go through with your family to share quality time, every law that has been changed that made your life easier, all of those have started with ideas and goals for people who did not believe in them, but they made sure to stick with them no matter of whatever every people around you are telling you about. This is so hard and you can do nothing, and this has been happening forever. This has been able to happen by one young person who believed in themselves, believed in their ideas, and knew that the community needs to change but will not change itself by itself. We need to change it and create the communities we deserve and we want to belong to. So believe in your ideas, filter the negative ideas that people try to tell you around you, and utilize the networks that you have and the peers that can support. I would like to see if you have any questions. You can raise your hands, you can send over the chat box, and we can spend the next 5 minutes answering. Those are the emails of me and my colleague, Gayal from Lebanon, and we are the regional managers for Middle East and North Africa. You can email us if you have any questions. I will surely be sending the platform link if anyone has a social impact project and would like to apply through our platform to be eligible for a fund of $250. And yeah, it was very pleasant to get to talk to you and hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated, dear Yusra. For the second time, you are inspiring us. I have a baby right here. Indeed, thank you so much. I would ask the audience if they have any questions. Please be brief. Umayma, I will start with you and then get to Ola. For any further questions or details, please text or email our dear Yusra, reach out her by email. So yeah, I will get back to Umayma and then Ola and go to the next session with the Youth Cafe.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yusra, for the beautiful presentation. And my question was like, to join Peace First, like, do we have to have only the idea of the project, or did the project have to be implemented in the real life and in the process?
Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you for sharing. So the thing is that for us, it would be enough for you to be eligible is to have this critical eye that was able to identify an injustice. So what we need from you is to come into the platform, being able to identify three things. The injustice that you see in your community, in your school, in your city. It does not have to be very huge. It's something that you felt and you went through. The root cause, like the first thing we would be asking you is literally the injustice you want to tackle, the root cause where you believe, for example, girls are dropping out of school. This is the injustice. What is the root cause? Is it lack of awareness among the parents? Is it the lack of awareness among how important education is? Is it people not having enough money to send their kids to schools? And we need from you a goal or a suggested solution. So for example, what would you like to do to tackle this issue? You need to answer us something from your mind, like I want to create a set of online campaigns where I tell people about the importance of education. So this is an example. And our job is to provide feedback for you. So if you came in with a solution that is ineligible, we will be giving you constructive feedback on how to create a better, more suitable solution. So I would appreciate and motivate anyone here to apply. No matter how basic the idea you have is, you come in with the idea. We train you and coach you into turning this idea into action. We give you the financial resources to put this action on the ground, and then you execute 3 months after receiving the money. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, dear. Now we have a great opportunity to get involved in social impact. Let's go to Ola. Questions?
Hello, thank you for your nice presentation. I'm actually an admirer for your project, and I actually applied for it, and I actually reached the level where I have to submit the budget, but due to coronavirus and its impact in my academic program and the whole team, we were forced to stop. So I just recently get back to our project. So I was asking, can I continue, like connect with the team and explain to them what happened in the past period and continue?
Did you receive your mini grant or not yet?
Our what?
Did you receive the money, the mini grant, or you didn't?
Now we were in our last thing, like we have to submit how much we need for the project, and we started the mentorship like via email, not in face-to-face.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for communicating that. Of course, you can complete the project. We understand that COVID stopped so many works, especially the ones that needed to be on ground. So you can completely proceed with the process. You can just easily send a comment or an email that you are ready now to book a mentorship call, and right after you complete your mentorship call, you would be eligible for us to send you the money to complete and implement the project. And after receiving the money, you have 3 months to implement. So if you feel like you're ready, gather the team, book a mentorship call, and proceed. Good luck.
Thank you so much, dear Yusra, for your presentation. Okay, Mr. Maradona, would you please mute your microphone? So yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for dear participants. Maybe we won't be able to have the break session. So we will move to the next NGO testimony or NGO presentation with our dear Victor from Liberia. Till now, we had the opportunity to hear from Nigeria, from all over the African continent, and then we will go to the Liberia for another NGO presentation. Victor, are you here with us? Would you please
I'm
introduce?
William. I'm here.
William, I'm sorry, I confused the names. William, the floor is yours.
Yes, thanks very much for the privilege. I'm sorry that I will not be sharing screen because my electronic device that I logged into is different from where my presentation is. Like I said, my name is William K. Biala from Southeastern Liberia, West Africa, and I'm the co-founder of Youth in Action for Health Promotion. This is an initiative that is led by young volunteers to shed light on youth health issues and how they can be part of the decisions that relating to their own health. So we all know it is widely acknowledged that to achieve a healthy goal, young people should be fully engaged as partners and leaders. So we work toward creating a space for young people to express their opinion about issues affecting them so that young people will represent themselves. Because like what happened in my country, youth are not representing youth. You will sometimes see an adult even approaching his older adult stage and says he's still a youth because probably he saw little opportunity that is for youth. He will go and represent the youth. And some of those adults, they don't know our issues. They don't know what really affecting us. At the end result, our issue will not be catered to and it will remain unresolved. So our mission is to improve the health, safety, and well-being of young people in rural communities with the provision of health messages, awareness, advocacy, and even environmental actions that will support healthy living. So our vision is to see a youth that is healthy and self-sufficient in a very safe and healthy communities. Majority of the young people in Liberia, they lack information, a lot of things, and they are in majority. Young people are in majority in Liberia, but despite the increased recognition of the importance of young people when it comes to politics, when it comes to election, measuring the well-being and healthy state of young people continues to be a challenge. For example, the issue of illicit drugs. Illegal drugs in my country, the law toward that, the issue of illicit drugs is weak. So usually you see a lot of young people engaging in drugs abuse, even in our schools. You see that people will carry on campus, although the law is there that when you are caught, they will take it from you, burn it, but you still go scot-free. You'll be walking around and you still have the potential to go engage in such acts again. So the issue of drugs law is weak, and that is harming the treasure and spirit of our country and making most youth to be vulnerable in developing mental illness. So we are working with young people in various schools and community, telling them about the effect of illicit drugs abuse and encouraging parents to be the first to inform their children about illicit drugs so that they cannot hear it from their friends and follow them, because if they have the right information, they will be able to accept it if their friend is trying to encourage them, they will reject engaging in drugs abuse. And also the issue of violence. Young people in my country, there are a lot of violence, domestic violence, sexual and gender-based violence, and even violence that involve violence that happen through protests. Like anything that happen within my country, when young people think about advocacy, what first come to their mind is protest. And usually within my country, Liberia, protests usually end with a lot of negative results. Like for one issue that just happened last month, there's a police officer or security apparatus who probably were receiving bribes, like they claim that he was receiving bribes to free a prisoner, and that it make the young people angry. Instead of advocating, gathering information and fact so as to engage the issue, they begin to protest, and that led to the only police headquarters that we have today to burn down. And now right now, the police are using an apartment to run their daily activities. So we are engaging young people. We are not only looking at them as victims or perpetrators of violence, but we are engaging them to, we are engaging as social actors to hear their views and contribution, and creating a space for them to express their opinion to decision makers so that their voice can be heard. And it will motivate them to follow the advocacy process if any issue pop up, because they will have the hope that local authority will hear them out. And another issue that we're tackling again is the issue of sexual and reproductive health. Like we all know, information is power. So an adolescent girl who lacks information about sex education, for example, even contraceptive, the different method used, if they lack such information, they are at risk of teenage pregnancy. And also in my country, there's a lack of mental health facilities such as sanitary supply, clean toilet, and that it have great impact. They have great impact on young girls' human rights. It affects their right to education. For example, their right to education. Here in my country, if a young girl is menstruating, probably she's living with her dad, and it's a taboo to discuss the issue of menstruation, sex with your children, because they will say it's very shameful, it's a shameful conduct to do it, yeah, which is just a myth. So you know that the girl will not tell her father, please buy me a sanitary pad. Like that, she will stay home. When her period will come, for when the messages come for about 1 week, she will miss classes. She will not attend school for that 1 week. And that alone affect her right to education. It affect her right to health, her right to economic, and even her social right. So many girls, teenagers, they miss classes because they are seeing their message for a particular time and they are not informed. You can discuss the issue of menstruation openly, and that cause a lot of young people not to be informed when it comes to menstrual hygiene. And even if they got pregnant, because their parents are not open up to them, they will end up going somewhere to have unsafe abortion, and that will either have negative impact or they die in the process. So we are engaging young people, debunking menstrual hygiene myths to parents, allowing them to be free with their children, so that their children will, if their children have any issue affecting them, they will be open up to their parents instead of their peers, because sometimes the information their peers will give them will not be the right one. We are working directly with schools and community. We have a radio program that we call Power to Youth radio program, where we inform young people about sexual and reproductive health, getting sex education. we give them sex education. So we, oh man. So sorry for the break in. So if we want to achieve the agenda 2063, if we want our youth to grow up safe, healthy, and ready to succeed, no matter their location, they need, what all the youth need is knowledge and skills to make healthy decisions about sexual health. And countries like my country need to straighten the drugs law so that it will be hard for youth to have access to illicit drugs. For youth to have access to illegal drugs, they should firstly make good policy that will make accessing those illicit drugs difficult. And another thing is health workers. We are also working with health workers so that they will maintain confidentiality, welcoming, and friendly to adolescents. Because if they are friendly to young people, the young people will be free, will be open up to discuss their sexual and reproductive health needs to health workers, and they will not go to unprofessional person, and they will even call their friends over to discuss their sexual and reproductive health needs, which will promote their health and make them live longer.
Dear William, thank you so much for your presentation. Indeed, we need as kind of this initiative in sexual and generally in health issues. Indeed, I would ask you to put your maybe Facebook page or your website link in the chat section, so our participants could reach out to you and get involved in your initiative. We will move next to the Youth Cafe from Liberia to Kenya again. So we will be having Malika from the Youth Cafe.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Malika Pyarli. I'm the Communications, Advocacy, and Digital Engagement Associate at the Youth Cafe. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak to all of you lovely people. I'm a bit exhausted because of the back-to-back presentations, but I hope I will be engaging and short. So let's just get right into it. A brief introduction into the Youth Cafe and the work that we do. So the Youth Cafe is a multi-award-winning, not-for-profit and Pan-African youth-led and youth-serving organization with its headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya. And since its founding in 2012, the Youth Cafe has been working with young people in Kenya and around Africa to advance youth-led approaches towards achieving sustainable development, social equity, innovative solutions, community resilience, and transformative change. To date, the Youth Cafe has reached around 2 million young men and women with its projects and mobilized over $10 million in support for youth empowerment in Africa. At the Youth Cafe, we're strong believers in the idea that progress is impossible without collaboration. And so at the heart of the Youth Cafe's operational work lies the notion of partnerships. These partnerships with wide-ranging actors, including member states, international organizations, the United Nations, foundations, youth organizations, private sectors, and civil societies, multiply and amplify the impact and relevance of the Youth Cafe. We have also attracted major partners such as USAID, Ford Foundation, Google, International Challenge Fund, etc., just to mention a few. Our current strategic plan looks at today's youth bulge as an opportunity for development and economic growth. To this effect, we partner with young people, leverage research, learning, and adaptation, cultivate sustainability and self-reliance, and advance gender-responsive youth programming. Our work is underpinned by a set of principles which include to build a more relevant, sustainable, and effective enabling environment for education and work systems for young people, that recognize their rights and will, to involve young people at all levels in decision-making processes that will affect their lives, to partner with young people to build a better, more resilient world for all generations, and to frame youth programs on a gender-responsive, right-based approach, implying that young people are considered right holders as well. Our mission is to enrich the lives of young people by modeling and advancing youth-led and right-based approaches for fostering young people's civic efficacy, community resilience, sustainable development, and equitable society, as well as proposing innovative solutions, driving social progress, and inspiring transformative change by utilizing innovative research, policy, and advocacy actions. Our vision is to advance youth-led approaches towards achieving sustainable development, social equity, innovative solutions, community resilience, and transformative change. While active on a number of cross-cutting issues, the Youth Cafe works mainly in 8 priority areas to which it brings a multidisciplinary and multi-perspective approach. These are peace and security, which includes preventing violent extremism, governance and political inclusion, with regards to remittances and accountability, culture, arts and sports, education and skills, business, job creation and entrepreneurship, universal health coverage, environmental preservation, and climate change. The 8 pillars of the Youth Cafe provide an essential organizing structure for the development and implementation of its various programs and initiatives, which all play a critical role in reducing youth deprivation and socioeconomic empowerment of young people in the continent. Our 8 pillars include these. So the Peace and Security Initiative was developed for the goal to achieve positive contributions through active engagements and participations in the maintenance and promotion of international peace and security. And we hope our projects provide participation of youth in peace building and conflict prevention, management and resolution and recovery. Governance and political inclusion with regards to accountability was to increase advocacy for political stability and effective governance to ensure there's a transparent, democratic, and accountable environment. An example of the work we've done in this section is the Youth Manifesto that we developed, which opened interactions that fed into the general democratic scene and stimulated proposals of transformative solutions. Then comes culture, arts, and sports. This was to increase contributions to socioeconomic stability, sustainable development, and economic growth through cultural entrepreneurship. Currently, we are working with creatives to document our projects and amplify their voices in our perspective blogs and podcast sections. Our education and skills pillar was established to increase access to efficient, high-quality education and training systems to facilitate young people's access to education and integration into the job markets. Examples of this work is our financial literacy program, which sought to empower the youth and help them navigate the financial real world. Another example is the establishment of our digital media information literacy handbook. The Youth Cafe seeks to equip young people with key media literacy skills, critical thinking, fact-checking, online safety, social media verification, and quality assessment of online information and their sources through this dedicated handbook. Through designing, developing, evaluating, and disseminating a youth-centered digital media literacy handbook, we hope to address digital threats to democracy in Kenya. Then to business, job creation, and entrepreneurship, we hope to increase training, mentorship opportunities for young people to leverage and create self-employment and job opportunities for other young people. An example of work in this stream is our Youth Na Biz project, which aims to improve the lives of young people through skills training in the solar industry. Then moving on to universal health coverage is to increase access to quality, affordable, responsive, and youth-friendly health services that help young people stay healthy, empowered, embracing gender equality norms, and demanding their rights. We improved the youth mental health by promoting social inclusion and strengthening post-pandemic resilience in Kenya through the psychosocial intervention model that we developed. Moving on to governance and political inclusion with regards to remittances, we hope to reduce remittance fees and transfer options to increase generations of domestic resources and eradicate high levels of poverty. We advocate for transparency about remittances, as well as more user-friendly applications and capacity. And lastly, to environmental preservation and climate change, to increase initiatives, programs that improve the lives and lifestyles of young people through reliable green jobs. An example of the work in this stream is also our Youth Na Biz project, which was to use solar energy for small businesses and opportunities for skill training in the solar industry. We have worked to develop a theory of change, which is a roadmap that depicts the relationship between the Youth Cafe's inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, and impacts. These impacts include both short and long-term outcomes and also reflect changes at different levels, such as individuals, organizations, systems, and communities. We have incorporated the views of young people, youth-led and youth-serving organizations, and experts so that our map reflects young people's views of how change occurs. Additionally, we have documented the assumptions and risks on which we have based our change effort. Here is a short 2D video to give you a better insight into our work.
Roughly 75% of the African population is below 35 years of age, filling our continent with incredible potential and energy. But despite all this, factors such as poor distribution of healthcare, education, employment, and even water and sanitation facilities have severely crippled our potential. As a result, we can see our youth lacking safe convening spaces and unable to influence the decisions that are being made for their own nation's development. This is where the Youth Cafe comes in. Since 2012, we as a unique youth initiative have ensured that the talented youths of Africa are allowed to step up and play their role as the new driving force of their nations. How do we intend to bring this change, you may ask? The answer is in our theory of change, an ambitious plan to strengthen the youth of Africa and help them soar to a world of opportunities and freedom by mobilizing the goodwill and support of governments, international organizations, the United Nations, civil society groups, corporations, and the youth of Africa themselves. We follow the theory of change to carry out 8 catalytic, action-driven, and progressive activities for the sake of helping our young citizens. Firstly, we support regional sports, arts, and cultural endeavors. Then, we ensure peace and security for the youth by actively involving the stakeholders to avert their participation in cases of violence and extremism. We regulate seamless flows of knowledge transfer to help educational and skill-based institutions, directly increasing awareness and access to employment opportunities among the youth. Apart from this, we actively work to promote green, resilient, and inclusive development to combat environmental degradation. We regularly push for changes in the regulatory framework to mobilize domestic resources and eradicate poverty for the undocumented and unbanked sections of the youth. Plans to promote improved access to active healthcare privileges and general health awareness against drug abuse, COVID-19, and transmissible diseases are being carefully planned by us for the young citizens. A growing businesses incubation program has been set up to support unfunded business ideas of young entrepreneurs by offering them startup capitals. And finally, we represent accountability initiatives and increasing advocacy for political stability, utilizing our community resilience and convening power. With the improved domestic development, distinguished intergenerational co-leadership, and the ever-expanding global outreach of the Youth Cafe, our dream of a youth-led Africa now draws closer every day. Along with our identity as a creative amplifying laboratory, advocating and fostering innovative, impactful, and progressive policies that promote youth participation and engagement at national, regional, and global levels. If you wish to see the young minds of Africa be beacons of leadership in the global community, register as a member of the Youth Cafe today and help us carry out our tremendous responsibilities from the front line. We welcome you to volunteer or have an internship with us and gain valuable guidance, professional recommendations, and future employment opportunities. You may strengthen our resources by donating books, equipment, and financial sums, or be part of our ecotourism programs and let us lead you through the beautiful ecosystem of our continent. The Youth Cafe has many more innovative ways for you to play a part in our ambitious initiatives. Visit our website today to learn more. Roughly 75% of the African population.
Sorry. Yes.
Roughly.
So I hope that gave you a better insight into our work. So now moving on to the next question. How does the Youth Cafe make a difference? As a unique youth initiative in Africa, seeking to foster community resilience, propose innovative solutions, drive social progress, youth empowerment, and inspire political change in Africa. As a mobilizing force that achieves results in partnerships with governments, international organizations, religious organizations, United Nations, civil society groups, corporations, youth, and the foundations. As a creative amplifying laboratory in Africa that seeks to advocate and foster innovative, impactful, and progressive policies that promote youth participation and engagement. And finally, as a convener to facilitate inclusive, accessible, and empowering digital and physical spaces for youth to meaningfully engage with different institutions through supporting them. The Youth Cafe's reach is in some 22 countries in Africa, and we're able to engage with youth and marginalized populations through our various projects. Some of the marginalized sections of youth that the Youth Cafe works with includes youth living with disability, youth living in informal settlements, young women and girls, minority youth, indigenous youth, among others. Our registered individual and organizational membership is of 48,000 and 14,000 respectively. And through them, we have been able to orchestrate partnerships, enhanced peer-to-peer learning, and inspired innovations across Africa. TYC is also increasingly seen as a digital leader with a monthly digital reach of over 600,000 people and over 147,000 subscribers. As a thought leader, the Youth Cafe has published over 2,000 reports and briefs, including hundreds of peer-reviewed publications on positive youth development. So we work with over 48,000 individuals and 14,000 organizational members internationally and locally who work in diverse thematic areas. And the benefits of being our member include career development and skill development training, broad networking opportunities, access to the Youth Cafe's groups, tools, and resources, etc. So our recommendations working in the field at the Youth Cafe are as follows. First, in order for the Agenda 2063 to be implemented successfully, there is need for an increased public awareness and literacy of the content and relevance of Africa's development agenda to the context of the individual states. Therefore, continental, regional, and national agendas need to be distinguished. In addition, the continent's agendas need to be integrated into the national and regional implementation instruments. Secondly, clarity on the roles and responsibilities of regional institutions in the implementation, development agenda need to be strengthened. Thirdly, the STEM curriculum needs to be enhanced because it is very crucial for the industrialization of African countries. Through training, the young generation of African men and women will grow up equipped with technical skills needed for the development of their economies. Fourthly, in order for Africa to progress, to be assessed properly in relations to the Agenda 2063, national statistics systems and institutions should be strengthened in order to avail the necessary data and information. And finally, it is important to set up continental, regional, and national risk management strategies that will prevent pitfalls to the overshadowing success of the Agenda 2063. Thank you. That was all from me at the Youth Cafe. Please feel free to reach out in case you have any queries or questions.
Maybe let's thank you so much first, our dear Malika, for your presentation. Youth Cafe is doing a great job in placing the peace and working on the peace building in the region. Thank you, dear participants, for being here. And yeah, maybe let's take a question from the audience about your work or maybe feedbacks. Just 2 questions, and then you can reach out to Malika by email. Yes, Umayma, I have a raised hand.
You're on mute, sorry.
Unmuted.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to thank you, Malika, for the beautiful presentation. Just one thing concerning the Youth Cafe, you've mentioned co-tourist program, a co-tourist program. What is it about? In the video, it was in the video, a co-tourist program.
Oh no, in the video, we actually meant that when you become a member with the Youth Cafe, with our different programming under these 8 thematic areas, we're able to also enhance like our culture, arts and sports field. If anyone needs more information about tourism in Africa, because as we all know, most of the countries, well, some of the countries in Africa depend highly on tourism, and especially due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've got a huge hit on the economies because of it. And so hopefully once everything gets back to normal or partially normal, we'll be able to help people get more information about tourism in Africa as well.
Okay, I see. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And sorry, can I just say, I saw a question here from another Malika of how you can volunteer from Morocco. And I will put in some important links that I have gathered from the Youth Cafe that you all can just take a look at. And there's a contact us and our global reach as well, and how to get in touch. They're all in the chat right now. Hope you can see them.
That's really amazing to hear that there are a lot of great initiatives all around Africa, and we had the opportunity to hear from Liberia, Nigeria, Kenya, and from around the whole continent. That was insightful from you to see all the social innovation in the different level of your work. So I would reiterate my sincere thanks to you, and let's have another and the last session for today with Nyambura. As known, each year the African Union chooses a topic or a theme of the year. In 2022, this year, the arts and culture are the main topic or the theme of the year within the African Union work. So I don't know. Yes, in Africa we had this Pan-African culture. We have also a common culture that is not really emphasized in different level of the social or economic work. So to start with, I know that many young people across the continent feel that art culture in Africa is beyond their center of interest, unfortunately. Thus, why we should care and how can we respond to that? We will be receiving with us Nyambura, Miss Nyambura from a program associate Arts and Culture Support Services within the Youth-led Africa. So the floor is yours, Miss Nyambura.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I'm trying to start my video.
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw your question. I would answer by saying I believe in the transformative power of the creative and cultural industries, definitely. And I think it's so important to combine the youth and show them that this is a pillar that they could get and create opportunities from. So definitely the Pan-African Front is needed because, you know, I feel that to develop anything, you have to have unity as well. So there we can also see capacity building, we can see skill sharing, we can also learn about each other's cultures, and also see that the essential need that we need is also to tell our stories, you know, share our stories, be our content creators, you know. So this year, actually, what we are going to have is, yes, we do have policymakers, but we will have a series of cultural and creative episodes for young Africans to use arts and activism, you know, to reflect about our current realities and perceptions. And it's very crucial because, you know, arts is integral to a society's fabric. And it also opens up space for critical thinking. And, you know, culture is a tool and has non-traditional approaches towards knowledge transfer. So we at this point as the continent only contribute 1% to the global creative economy. And I think that if we grow, if we transform ourselves and decide that, you know, the creative and cultural industries are important for the youth, we'll definitely create those new jobs, being that we are going to be one of the youngest continents in the future. So yeah, I think we definitely need more arts advocacy and lobbying in the region and the continent. We need to create awareness of the importance of art to address critical issues as a tool of advocacy and networking. And we definitely need more knowledge transfer sessions. And I believe that everybody does enjoy the arts. We do understand and we do listen to this music. Even if you don't understand the language, you'll feel it, you'll understand it. And it's crucial for content-rich reality for us as creators and also for the audience through this transition that we're having, especially during the pandemic. Maybe I can share a bit about myself. I entered the creative economy when I was young. I was volunteering in festivals. I am born and raised in Kenya, but I grew, my career grew in Tanzania. It's a very vibrant place. The region is very, very vibrant. There's a lot of amazing opportunities and a lot of amazing experiences that you get through the strength of storytelling and working with different teams. Also learning about your identities and your values and having freedom of expression beyond our boundaries. So this is something that I've learned through my years, that the strength of us as Africans right now in this creative economy is enhancing or building the capacity of everyone, from the stakeholders to the artists, to be able to generate income and also to have really important dialogues and foster connections with young leaders in the creative and of course the political spectrum. Yeah, I don't know, maybe if you have any questions, because I could speak for hours about, you know, my passion for this creative and cultural industries. I'm sorry, I've tried to put on my video, but I don't know. It's not working yet.
Okay, let's wait a few seconds, maybe.
She can send us the link on the chat if it is, yeah, and then we can post it. Meanwhile, yes, yeah, I think while waiting, yeah, there is always this question about the relations between young people and art and culture, especially that, as Sukaina said, this year theme of the African Union is all about art, culture, and heritage. Why, in your opinion, I'm not sure what is the states in Kenya, but for instance, in Morocco, there is this lack of this intergenerational dialogue in order to pass on this art and culture yeah, and this discussion around the heritage in terms of culture and art from generation to another. We used to see that, but not like, you know, like today's. Yes. So in your opinion, how can we really enhance this dialogue between, you know, the previous and this generation on art and culture?
Thank you for that, Hatim. Yes, I do see an imbalance when it comes to how we are sharing our stories now. And I know that not many people will go for the arts or the creative industries because obviously we're also coming from a time when we were schooled that better opportunities are in other sectors. So I think what an indirect solution could be to this pattern is to seek new markets. So we need to connect young creators from the north, from the east, from the south, from the west, and encourage visibility of their works, encourage visibility of the platforms, and also to see how we can create sustainability through our capacity building programs. So I feel that if we can redefine what these industries are, and that it is not an exclusive, it's not a waste of time, and discuss the key themes, and create a movement, actually, to create a movement between all these new markets, then I feel that we'll have a better balance as a continental platform. I think we need to bring all these markets together, because I know that a lot of people will look and see the West is more progressive, but it's also about the influence of what we had before these current systems. Yeah, so we have to create our new systems, define our spaces, and definitely create new policies and maybe improve on the intellectual property part, so that people can be interested in entering and venturing into this sector.
I ask maybe the audience. I think this is dear Nyambura, this is a key yes. Topic to involve, to have like to involve young people yes. in the process of co-creation, especially yes. in the economical and social process. I would ask you first, and then maybe I will ask the audience if they are doing arts or cultural activities in their daily life. And then I will this question is for you, dear Nyambura, about how we can promote the entrepreneurship in the field of art and culture.
Well, for me at this point, as I see it, being that I also have been an art manager in the region for a few years, and especially now as we're talking about the pandemic, we need to look at the digital platforms. I do know that we're doing a lot of hybrid type of things, and I know that does not, person to person is so important. Face-to-face connections is really important in the creative world. But I think right now the youth are at the pinnacle where they can have their art be viewed on a wider platform. And this is through the digital sessions, and that's how I believe that we can create a bigger economic opportunity for the young people in this continent, because it's not just about exporting our creativity outside the continent, but it's also for us to share what we're doing right now and how we are existing, how we're surviving, how we're growing, how we're transforming, and how we are speaking our own stories, how we are able to, how we can change our narrative and create better content and better opportunities, so that we can, in the next by 2050, to say that we have created X amount of jobs in the creative and cultural industries.
Thank you so much, Nyambura, for responding. I think Richard has a question, maybe, or some thoughts about the topic.
Thank you, Nyambura. Thank you. Yes, so thank you for the presentation. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I really liked your opening statement, believing that art can be a transformative tool in addressing some of the issues that we face. So in a very concrete way, I would like to see, what would you suggest as a way that we can leverage the art and culture in addressing some of the major challenges that's confronting also in Africa, for example, for a start, and then more specifically on young people. The second point would be more related because I know in many of the African countries, or maybe only in my home country, Nigeria, where the teaching of arts and culture is related basically to people who are doing courses or taking courses in the art sectors. So when you are primarily a science student, even in high school, you no longer have anything to do with arts and culture. So it becomes something meant for a certain class of people or people who are interested in this field. So how do we leverage, or how do we integrate art and culture in other fields of learning that can help young people to innovate better using these tools in our maybe formal education system today, but also in the non-formal sectors or informal education sector? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those are very important questions, really important. I think I believe the first one I would say is how to encourage sustainability and bridge that and bridge the arts with development and the SDGs. This, I believe, is through, again, building our capacity. And that can be through, as you're saying, the courses, also for us to leverage with the institutions that are around the country and see that we can offer more of this creative and cultural type of programs. And for example, what we're doing in Arusha through the ULEAD platform, which is not just about policy making, we're also using the arts to give people a chance to talk and create their opportunities there. So this is all about storytelling through a multicultural, multidisciplinary, and also, through documentaries, so that people can see so that the youth can see that this is actually a very important industry for them to be in, to immerse themselves into the stories and perspectives, and to understand that there is so much opportunity just waiting for us to develop it. And it's for us as African youth to see that we should not wait for anybody else to find this opportunities. And even if you might not find it, as you're saying, that some people might find it that this is just a vocational thing, I think we need to also change that mindset and have more data collection, more information out there about what people are actually doing on the ground and their successes, even their failures, just as case studies, so that we can also be able to reflect, see what can be improved, and also offer a helping hand if someone from the west of Africa sees some opportunities in East Africa and make a collaborative project. These are things that I think we need to be looking more of, unifying our efforts, and definitely heightening the visibility of these industries in the continent first, and then we can think of outside the continent. I hope I've answered the questions there. Hello? I hope I'm not lost.
Thank you so much, Nyambura. I think we have lost Sukaina. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and again, I believe that, if I might say, that art is the only peaceful weapon that we can use to bring people together.
Music. It's a tool.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. And I think that there are so many musics that really bring this relations between across national and transnational relations. Especially, for instance, in the case of Morocco, we have the Gnawa music, which is all about 100% African music, and we even try to promote this culture for a specific festival in a city called Essaouira as well. I think I know for sure that we don't want to take too much from your time, but definitely what I will be asking as maybe a closing Maybe one last message for young people in terms of arts and culture. But at the same time, I will ask as well if some of our speakers still here, they can give one last message or advice for young people. Back to you, dear Nyambura.
Wow, I think being that I entered the arts, actually I entered the arts and creative industries when I was really young. I think maybe I was 17, and I first did a lot of volunteering. I really made the effort to learn other people's cultures, people's thoughts, people's expressions, because it's so important that musicians and artists and fine arts, visual arts, performing artists, they are offering themselves to us, you know, and I really appreciate that because I've learned so much from them. I've learned so much just by talking and immersing myself into the stories. So we need to raise our collective consciousness, especially when it comes to the youth and when they're using art to share, because just as you said, you know, it can be a weapon. It can be a very peaceful weapon. It does cross borders. I've seen musicians from Malawi bonding with someone from Uganda or Tanzania, and maybe they don't understand each other, but I've seen music brings people together. I've seen art bringing people together. So for me, I believe that to raise our collective consciousness and start enhancing and fostering these connections, we're gonna create something amazing. And I think, you know, just to remind all the youth, this is the time. Even if we're in a pandemic, this is the time. There are new opportunities, new markets, new places that we can go, not just physically, but also digitally. So I'm really excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, more of these initiatives coming from all of you. And we are definitely here to support and to grow you guys, you know, because we definitely love what you guys are doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nyambura. Thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts, your artivism, if I might say, like art and activism. Thank you so much. So before we close, we have one last, I think one of the youth NGOs asked us if it is possible to have, you know, so they can showcase what they are doing and to inspire other people. And I think this is a question that all of you might ask: why do we have, you know, NGOs and activists with us? Is to inspire you, because as one of the speakers said before, and I think also one of the participants, that we cannot wait to do something big and to start with something big in order to change things. We can just shake things up by doing small little things, like, for instance, making people aware about the subjects, about the topic, about an issue, about the Agenda 2063, for instance. So this is something that can really push people forward to reflect. So I will be giving the floor to Amina from the Exit Door. Amina.
Yes, hello everyone.
Yes, hello. If you can speak up, please, so we can hear you.
Can you see the slides?
Yes,
Good.
definitely.
Hello everyone. Thank you for listening. So I will be presenting Exit Door to you guys. So to be short, Exit Door is an online platform that was created on the 2nd February of 2019. It's a platform that focuses on studying with affordable prices, and that aims at skills in demand. So the benefits are to save money, training from the comfort of your home, 21st century skills. Please note that Exit Door was created before the pandemic. Okay, so our activities are mainly educational programs, trainings, mini educational projects, and online conferences. So As an example, we have TLP, which is Teens Leadership Program. It's a program to qualify young Algerians between 15 to 17 years old and develop their skills and train them to be future leaders. Thanks to a set of online training courses, a young person from any Algerian city will be selected to participate in this program. So, for example, we have a mini educational project called Masmoa, which is a miniature project that consists of recording audiobooks in Arabic and English for the blind and visually impaired people. Just to note here, it's this audio project is under the Marrakesh Agreement, which means here that we do not really have a problem with copyrights because it is provided for the benefits of blind and visually impaired people. Concerning the training, so we have digital journalism, public speaking, self-leadership, and effective communication. Concerning the conferences, on the other hand, we have urban interventions, sustainable development, entrepreneurship, and digital marketing. Concerning the results, we have reached to more than 2,000 students and had more than 20 trainings, 10 webinars, 1 educational project, and 1 educational program, and we have reached about 40 cities or wilayas. So what are the main difficulties that we face as an online platform? First things first, it's the technical difficulties because there is poor internet network coverage. We have a minority of participants do not really have time to take online training, and some trainers are not qualified to provide online training. So they are not well versed in that domain or area yet. So our next big step, we aspire to train more than 1,000 Algerian professors on modern methods of online learning before the end of this year, because most of them could not really handle online teaching the past year. So our recommendation when it comes to education, motivating private and non-governmental institutions to provide scholarships for children who are unable to pay tuition fees as part of their social responsibility. We have also supported the establishment of model schools with modern methods and curricula in education by African governments, employing modern technology while adapting educational curricula and all academic courses to suit the requirements of the modern era. Activating the partnership between the public and private sector and providing internet services in unserved areas through satellite while securing free access to educational services through the white listening service, hiring experts and specialists in the field of distance education to supervise the flexible transition to distance education or blended education, together with training teachers on creating and evaluating content and educational activities. One more point. The whole objective of creating Exodore was because there is an imbalance in terms of opportunities in most of the countries, where opportunities mostly lie in the capital cities or the other cities surrounding it. However, the other cities who are far away from the capital do not have as much opportunities. So this is why Exodore was created in the first place. Thank you for your attention, everyone. I hope that I didn't take much of your time. Any questions? Feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Amina. So since we are already at the close of the day, we probably will not take a lot of questions, but I see that Sumaya has her hands up. So maybe we just privilege her and give her that last chance to ask the question. And after that, we can go to the closing.
Hello, thank you so much, Amina, for your beautiful presentation. I just want to ask you if there is, if still some program are opening or to register it.
Amina, did you get that?
Okay. Thank you, Sumaya, for your question. I believe that we will reopen the TLP Teens Leadership Program that will be opening soon, as far as I know, within our program before the end of this year. Thank you for your interest.
Right, thank you so much. Amina, I think you can also share your email contact or whatever contact you have, and those who wish to reach out to you with more questions and direct contact would be able to do so. Thank you for your presentation and for sharing your initiative and the great work you're doing. So hello everyone again. Oh, not again, because you haven't heard from me apart from the fact that I asked a question just a little while ago. My name is Richard, as you probably can see or on the agenda, originally from Nigeria. I live in France, but right now I'm in Ethiopia, so I'm in Africa. So I'm very happy to be with all of you this evening. I see the energy level has been very high and all of you have been participating. So a big kudos to all of you who stayed to this end of the session for today. And I hope that we would be catching ourselves again to continue the conversation in the rest of the sections that going from tomorrow. But to finish the session for today, we wanted to see your energy level. And so we would ask you, if it's possible, to reflect on one word that describes your feeling as you are right now, after the whole knowledge sharing, the different experiences and good practices that your colleagues around the world have shared this evening. We would like to hear from you. How do you feel right now? Do you feel more motivated? Do you feel a bit depressed that, yeah, there's not much that has been done? Or do you feel happy? So just in the chat box, you can quickly put one word that expresses how you feel at the end of this day's session. And after that, I'm going to also share with you a form that we would encourage all of you to feel after this session. But anyway, I'm waiting to see the words that you have. I see encouraged, I see grateful. That's awesome. I see inspired, optimistic, so motivated to make changement in my community, to make change in my community. Empowered, inspired, with motivated. A lot of you are motivated. That's great. And empowered, inspired, all in cap. That's awesome. So it's extra inspired. Very happy for this day, rich in learning. Thank you. Encouraged and happy. Thank you. Inspired. Thank you. Motivated. That was very rich meeting. I'm glad that I attended. Enthusiast. Inspired. Okay, I see a lot of inspiration. Feel free to reach out to me. Yes. Thank you, Amina. Super excited for tomorrow. That's good. Happy to hear that you're super excited for tomorrow. Motivated. Ready to use the knowledge that I learned. That's awesome. It's very important. Please do put them to use. We want to see most of you. Okay, great. Happy to know that there are people who are really doing great. Okay, thank you very much. So you can keep them coming as you wish. I'm putting a link that I would ask the organizer. Sorry, just a moment. I'm sharing a link with you that the organizers. Oh, okay. Thank you, Hatim, for sharing that. Yeah, so kindly do feed that link and share your evaluation about this section. Thank you so much. And Hatim, I would give back to you to give some closing words. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And just before closing the session about just tomorrow, we will be having a great work because, again, our major output is for this Academy edition is to have this, this policy, which will enable us to present it to the African Union, because it will have all your voices, your thoughts, your envision for the future as well. And in that, we will be having group work into breakout room sessions in 3 major themes. So health, education, and agriculture. So what I would ask you as the homework, if you may take it as a homework, is based on the session we had on identifying and documenting some best practices on youth, just do some research on in your country, maybe in Africa as a general, identify 3 best good practices or initiatives led by young people to tackle health, to tackle issues related to education, to tackle issues related to agriculture. So 3 issues, and then try to take out the challenges and the recommendations. And with that, we will be it will enable you and us so we can move forward in the discussion happening in the breakout session tomorrow. Also, we are very happy that this year, I know for sure that you have heard about the progress report about a certain country and another country. So on the next day, on Wednesday, I know it's soon, but I'm so excited to announce that we will be having a governmental body from Morocco who will present to us the first time the progress report of Morocco on the Agenda 2063, so we can really, give our feedback, propose something to do, and so on. So you are going to give your word, your propositions to a governmental body directly, so they can do more work on the Agenda 2063. So yes, we will be sending via email, of course, the link for the sessions. It is live streamed on YouTube. The presentations we have received so far, and of course this homework, absolutely. And just keep in mind that as much as you participate, as much as you are active, you will gain some points which enable you to get the certificates. So we have 3 certificates: the bronze, the silver, and the golden one. So please be active as much as possible. And yeah, I'm so excited for today as well. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you. Please don't forget to fill out the post-evaluation. Thank you.